Hello all, welcome to our live info session for Northwestern. I'm excited to be here with you all. My name is Niyo Moraza-Keeswood. I'm an assistant director of admission here at Northwestern. And I also have the pleasure of being joined today by Anamaria, if you want to introduce yourself.
Thank you, Neil. Hi, everyone. My name is Anamaria. I'm a rising fourth-year student from Orange County, California, double majoring in cognitive science and history. As a native Californian, it was absolutely essential that I find some piece of the ocean wherever I went to school. And let me tell you, Lake Michigan has served as a more than perfect substitute. When I'm not exploring the outdoors, indoors at my climbing gym in Chicago or volunteering with incarcerated students enrolled in Northwestern's prison education program, you can find me propped up on the Lakeville with a book or my laptop. For those of you who are curious, the Wi-Fi does work perfectly out there.
Thank you for that. I know for today, we actually had our first day of snow in Chicago. And so as someone, I just got fresh off a master's in California. And so for me, it was a drastic adjustment today. But nonetheless, excited to be here. We also have the pleasure of being joined in the chats by another assistant director, Mauricio. So feel free to include any questions you have or things you want to know about. He'll be able to touch on those. What we're going to do is go over a presentation about Northwestern and then leave time for question and answer after that. So to start off, we just really wanted to take some time to acknowledge the really strenuous circumstances you all may be under right now, be it both applying to colleges in the midst of a pandemic, social political unrest, different climate change and natural disasters across the states, and really acknowledge that we are also here to support you throughout this college process. And so there might be those different stressors and anxiety. And so we please encourage you to reach out, ask questions, see if you need any support throughout this process. We are here for you. But with that said, just to kick off our presentation, Northwestern is located just north of Chicago in what is the ancestral lands of the Menominee, the Odawa and Potawatomi people, also known today as the town of Evanston. So we're about an hour north via car, via public transportation. Students will also use our inter-campus shuttle to access downtown Chicago, where our School of Public Health, our law school, and our law school are also located. Along with that too, being just north of Chicago, you have a lot of great opportunity to really engage with the city, be it through accessing the variety of different restaurants, the different museums, aquarium, theaters. Our students are really going into the city for different opportunities. I know for me, when I was just in California, it was a pizza desert in many ways. And so relocating here is very excited about the possibilities of diving into the pizza culture, as well as just being able to explore the different resources the school and greater Chicago area has to offer. You want to share some of the things that you actually like to access in Chicago?
Yeah, I would say both Evanston and Chicago have so much to offer. I personally was able to take advantage of both Chicago and Evanston through a business institutions class I took 2 years ago called Lessons in Nonprofit Consulting. During the course, we had a professor, speakers, and advisors who were all actual professional nonprofit leaders in the Chicago area who came to our campus in Evanston and spoke to us. So that was kind of a really exciting way that we got to engage with Chicago, with the city, with the broader professional community there. And then we use kind of what we learned there, those resources, to be assigned and work on a project with an Evanston-based nonprofit. So there's kind of a lot of interaction that is able to happen and is facilitated here on our Evanston campus for both cities.
We also like to point out, even though Chicago is right on our doorsteps, we are right next door among the town of Evanston. And so our campus is about a mile wide walking, so very walkable, but our students are easily able to access the city and all of its stores, restaurants, coffee shops within about a 5 to 10 minute walk from campus. And so It's a really great location in that you have one of the third largest cities in the United States right at your fingertips. You also get to experience very much a campus vibe from within Northwestern. Beautiful architecture, great green spaces to really lounge out in between classes. You're also right on the banks of Lake Michigan. And so really cool. If you're here in the summer months, we actually have a beach that you can go lounge out on and make sure you can get your summer tan while you're here at Northwestern. And like I mentioned, we have various perks too as students when you're here at Northwestern, from being able to attend museums for free, getting reduced rates on going to our theater, and both through classes and even within your residence halls, there's those really curated opportunities to access the city. With that said, just looking towards our campus population, we have an undergraduate population of 8,000 students, representing all 50 states, 95 different countries. And the beauty of this is we have such a diverse array of students, be it cultural, ethnic, socioeconomic backgrounds, or just really the academic perspectives they're bringing into these spaces. And so even with, we have that smaller student to faculty ratio of 6:1. And so you will have those great opportunities to engage with your faculty in these settings, be it in discussion, be it even in those lecture opportunities, but also it's really a community of mutual learners. So really being able to engage with your peers and a lot of these different amazing discussions and different academic perspectives that really bring about vibrant ways of compounding this different knowledge, so to speak. And so when we talk about being a community of learners, I would say we're also very much have a community that is very passionate about what students, what they're learning, what they want to bring into the world, and how that can be brought into these different circles of how you're engaging with other students. And along with that too, when it comes to actual learning on our campus, our students will take classes typically in the fall, the winter, and spring months within our quarter system, with an option of taking courses, maybe doing research, internships in the summer months. And so these quarters will last for around 10 to 11 weeks each, and our students will take around 4 courses each quarter. So overall, by the time you graduate, be taking around 48 courses, as compared to a semester system operating on a fall spring quarter class system, taking about 4 to 5 within those semesters. You might find yourself coming up with around 32 up to 40 courses. And so you might be sitting asking yourself, okay, why am I going to take these 8 more courses? And we see it as a great opportunity for exploration. So of course you can dive right in when you're at Northwestern, pursue those academic career interests you've always been thinking about, but it's also a great space for you to maybe explore other personal interests or things that have just piqued your interest, or take those courses with friends, or different things can have, the different opportunities really arise from that flexibility in our system. And in addition to that, our school operates, or university operates across 6 different schools within intellectual areas. Largest is our School of Art, College of Arts and Sciences, where about 50% of our students are enrolled. So taking majors from your English, your anthropology, American studies, to your sciences from chemistry, biology, and whatnot. Our School of Education, which is really focused on cultivating future educators, but also future change makers in the field. Our School of Engineering, which will take a whole-brained approach to engineering. So of course your logic, but also bringing in creative thinking to bring up about future innovators in the field. Our School of Communications, which takes looks at all forms of communication, from the science of how we speak, how we listen, how we actually spread that those information, from performance to dance to film and whatnot. Our School of Education, which will take both a performative route, but also more theoretical approach to music, as well as our School of Journalism, which is one of the only undergraduate schools of journalism in the top 10. And so while you're here, you can take courses across these schools, and when you actually apply, you will apply into one of these schools, selecting either one major you might become interested in coming in with, or undecided. Do you want to speak a little more towards our liberal education here?
Yeah, absolutely. So while both of my majors are actually housed in Weinberg, the College of Arts and Sciences, I've been able to take classes actually in all 6 of the schools housed on campus. The best part being I was not intending to. Some of the courses I took to satisfy requirements for my cognitive science major, like with the cognition course I took in Benin last year, while others I took for fun, like the documentary course I took in Medill last quarter. Whatever school interests you, if all the schools interest you, you can make as many of them a part of your academic experience as you want. Some of you might know what you want this academic experience to be, like my roommate Emily. She came to Northwestern knowing she wanted to be a design focused engineer, spending her college career developing her skills on the computer, in the shop, and in the lab. So she immediately started her pursuit of a major in industrial engineering and a Siegel design certificate. She spent hours honing her welding skills in the Ford Design Center, coming up with solutions for real problems and designing real products. When she wasn't doing that, she was driving around Chicagoland while on contract with an arboretum as part of her senior capstone project. She and her team were busy developing a device to alert homeowners to when their trees were declining in health, helping to speed up expert intervention. They did such an incredible job with the work that they were actually able to sell their product. Certainly not a first for a McCormick capstone team, but a huge win for them. She graduated this past spring and has just started her first job as a product manager at Epic. While she's working day in and day out to guide hospitals through the transition process of implementing life saving medical equipment systems, she constantly calls back to the knowledge she gained from her super hands on, STEM focused Northwestern journey. Some of us don't know what we want, like myself, for a long time, a long part of my college career, and are in a place of discovery. So throughout my own process, I remained consistently undecided on what I wanted to major in. Uncertainty around what I wanted to major in when I was applying to college made me all the more certain about what I did want in my college academic experience. I wanted the flexibility and opportunity to engage with a variety of different types of ideas in all different disciplines. Northwestern has offered me the opportunity to explore all of those things. My friend Kirthi also was unsure about what she wanted to major in, but definitely found a great option when, after taking lots of different courses in lots of different schools, she applied and was accepted to join the American Studies program. This is a major that allows students to take classes across all subjects and shape their own academic path and concentration. They then put these students into 4-person sized seminar classes where they can discuss and share experience and expertise from courses all across the university. They finish the major with a thesis project that synthesizes all of these different subjects together. Kirthi ultimately decided to focus her skills on assessing motivation and activism, and got so into the subject matter and connected so well with the young activists she interviewed that she ended up getting super involved in a climate change organization called Sunrise, and was able to apply her knowledge to some real world on the ground advocacy. For me personally, like I mentioned, when I stepped on Northwestern's campus, I was really unsure about what kind of major or coursework I wanted to define my experience here. From the first day I met with my academic advisor and every meeting we've had since, he's encouraged me to pursue any and all coursework that's interested me. After taking all kinds of classes in different areas my freshman and sophomore years, I ended up choosing cognitive science and history. Cognitive science because of how interdisciplinary the major itself is, and history, well, take a class with Professor Daniel Immervar and you'll understand why. I never would have envisioned myself pursuing or landing in these majors had it not been for the encouragement of my advisor and incredible professors who guided and changed my perspective on both my academic journey and the world at large along the way. And my experience is truly not unique here at Northwestern. With a 6-to-1 faculty ratio and 80% of classes being less than 20 people, it's really normal to have meaningful and valuable relationships with faculty. Professors are required to host weekly office hours and more than willing to sit down with students and talk about school, life, or figuring out classes. These classes that you take at Northwestern fall into 3 different buckets: major requirements, distribution requirements, and electives. You typically take between 11 and 17 major classes out of 48 total classes during your time at Northwestern. Most of the time, these major classes are taken within your home school in your specific area, although this can vary depending on the interdisciplinary nature of your major. Distribution requirement categories are really broad here, so you can choose from 30 to 50 classes for each area of the requirement. They're kind of like your typical liberal arts curriculum. The final bucket is electives. This is your chance to take whatever interests you in whatever school across campus you'd like. You can take anything from Marriage 101 in CESP to Designing Your Life in McCormick, no matter what school you're in or academic discipline you are predominantly studying. Through faculty support, academic preparation, and $3.5 million Northwestern allocates annually solely for undergraduate research, it is incredibly easy for students to get involved in all kinds of research experiences on campus. A few of the ways students get to access these funds and explore their research interests are through research assistantship grants, individual research grants, travel grants, and fellowships. Sometimes students take advantage of these funds in your typical lab environment. Like my friend Regina, who spent her summer at our Feinberg Medical School researching to design a 3D printed ovary for women who have lost ovarian function due to chemotherapy. Often, though, students wear nothing like a lab coat and goggles while conducting their research projects and can be found anywhere but the lab. Like my friend Ryan, who conducted work interviewing interracial couples, which he ultimately turned into a creative writing project. Research can also take you abroad like it did for my friend Leah, who I met during my first of 2 study abroad experiences. She and I met while spending the summer in Guatemala together through the GESI program, which takes students to a number of different countries and using combined coursework and hands-on experience, guides students in working in teams to design and implement community development projects. Leah created an innovative, cost-effective waste removal system in the town we were working in. She was able to win a research grant to go back to Guatemala to continue her work and re-engage and build more sustainable, lasting relationships with the people in the community she'd spent so much time with. Now she is starting her second year of a 2-year Princeton Africa Fellowship, where she is conducting similar work and learning from new relationships she is forming in Rwanda. She was able to have all of these meaningful experiences at no cost to her through both direct Northwestern funding and other resources. At Northwestern, aid travels with you, so you can have that abroad experience even twice or 3 times, regardless of financial background. The second time I went abroad, I went to Florence, Italy with my roommate Megan. This was also Megan's second time abroad. She had spent the summer before Italy studying at the London School of Economics. As an econ major, it was really important to her to get the perspective of studying within her field from an international perspective, as well as studying outside of her academic area in a new setting. Thus, she was able to attack our Mediterranean food and culture class, where we did a lot of work learning about food sustainability and proper wine tasting practices, with the same enthusiasm and rigor as she had her classes at LSE, knowing that she was getting a well-rounded and nuanced educational experience in different ways in different places. Students have the opportunity to participate in exploration closer to home through a variety of spaces on campus that foster innovation and student ingenuity. Studio 22 is a great example of a space where students really have the autonomy to create and pursue whatever projects and ideas they envision. Students come up with their own film ideas, write their own scripts, create their own budgets, and assemble their own production teams. They then pitch their ideas to the Studio 22 board in order to be considered for a grant that allows them to put these ideas into action and produce real films. Students also love to exercise these creative and innovative skills through internships. Over 70% of students have reported having an internship during their time at Northwestern. Many schools have ways to support students both financially and academically in their internship pursuits. Last summer, my friend Larissa completed an internship at the Gabby Gifford Law Center, advocating for gun reform in Congress, which counted as her School of Education practicum, a required part of the curriculum, so she was able to get her incredible work counted towards her degree. Not only was she able to find the internship through the support of the School of Education and Social Policy and our Northwestern Career Advancement Office, but she was able to be financially supported in the internship through our Summer Internship Grant Program, or SIGP. That way, she didn't have to spend time worrying about the burden of accepting an unpaid internship and was able to focus all of her attention and energy into doing the work she's passionate about. The things she learned and connections she made at the internship experience helped her land an internship this summer with the British Parliament, where she is working on similar advocacy in her home country. CESP isn't the only school with built-in internship requirements. An essential part of the Medill School of Journalism curriculum is that students are required to spend time doing their journalism residency, where they do real-world, on-the-ground journalism, working in a practical setting. Engineers have similar opportunities through co-op, and really any student in any school can take advantage of credit for interning through Chicago Field Studies. The connections students make through these internship experiences during undergrad really carry and remain valuable through graduation, with 96% of students getting a meaningful experience within 6 months of graduating.
Thank you. And the beauty of that is we have all these different Northwestern graduates that go in so many different directions after they graduate. Whether it's entering into these more corporate positions with, as you see, there's all these different companies that a lot of our alumni are working in now. Others will actually go through other routes, be it community-based organizations, maybe pursuing graduate education, or medical school, law school, things along those lines as well. And so all of our alumni will tap into these different resources in order to really set them up for success as they pursue and really prepare for life after graduation. And so that's something we really like to reassure our students. There's a wealth of resources to make sure you're not only successful at Northwestern, but after your time throughout Northwestern too. And so, of course, some of our notable alumni, I know for me, I always get excited when I watch my late night television and see Seth Meyers, Stephen Colbert reporting on the news. Although we are the Wildcats, you might be thinking, oh, Sharpay and in a High School Musical, but that's a whole different set of alumni. Sorry, I had to put that reference in there. And so, all these alumni really are great opportunities to network with as well once you graduate. And so you might find yourself reaching out to build these connections for further internship, mentorship opportunities. And so it's a really great resource for us. But getting a little bit into our student life.
Yeah, at Northwestern, every student lives on campus for 2 years so that everyone can have the opportunity to formulate and strengthen a community that is centered around the actual campus space. So students live in clusters of different residential communities and have the opportunity to form relationships and establish a sense of closeness and belonging with other members of these communities. So live-in faculty and graduate students organize community events like hot chocolate socials and live shows, giving the students the space to take a break and spend time together. I personally was able to take a break from the dorm life with the occasional movie night with friends in my faculty and residence's on-campus house. She proved to be an invaluable resource and support. Spotting her adorable 4-year-old running around the halls of my dorm every once in a while was an added bonus. There are all kinds of programming and experiences students can engage with through their residential communities. There are opportunities to participate in IM sports and student government and attend formals and events planned by your friends on the residential board. But community isn't limited to where you live at Northwestern. It starts the first day you arrive on campus with Wildcat Welcome, our week-long orientation for first-year students. During the week, you learn how to navigate everything there is to know about Northwestern, alongside a close-knit group of other new students. An older student, known as your peer advisor, is around the entire time to show you the ropes and guide you as you participate in Northwestern traditions like March Through the Arch and running across the field at your first football game. Students also often look to significant affinity spaces, whether that be the Multicultural Center, the Black House, or Hillel, to name a few, to find a tighter-knit community within the larger Northwestern family. The purple pride that is introduced to students at Wildcat Welcome really does go throughout the school year with events like Dillo Day. Dillo Day, the largest run student music festival in the country, is the perfect time for everyone to step away from their studying and take a day to fully relax and enjoy the incredible concerts. In the past, we've had artists like Chance the Rapper, Young the Giant, and Daniel Caesar. The beauty of Dillo is that you feel so at home going to the events and listening to the artists because you're surrounded by friends. Everyone understands here that there's no one way to, quote, do Northwestern. Everyone is on their own path, exploring and engaging with their own passions, interests, and aspirations. But that is the beauty of this school. No matter what it is that gets you up in the morning, or to raise your hands in class, or to commute downtown, that is treated as valid, and everyone is so incredibly excited to support you in that. No one is trying to get ahead or beat everyone else. We're all here to help and support each other in whatever excites and fulfills us. Student organizations are a huge part of the undergraduate experience and another way that students pursue these passions and create community on campus. With over 500 student organizations as a starting point, students have the freedom to create and maintain communities in and through whatever ways they feel best. If that interest is musical, it certainly can be fulfilled with the orchestras, bands, and 14 a cappella groups. A few of my roommates are in an a cappella group called Thunk, so I like to call myself a Thunk fanatic, since I don't think I've missed a single show since freshman year. I was pretty sad though when they decided not to invite me on their trip to South Africa to teach a cappella in some local schools, like I wasn't an official member of the group or something. If performing isn't your thing, there's tons of opportunities to play on different teams through IM and club sports, and or participate in different volunteer and community building experiences through one of the many service-oriented clubs or organizations we have here on campus.
Wonderful. So we just want to share a little bit more about the actual nitty-gritty of our application process, the materials you'll be submitting if you do apply to Northwestern, which really hope you do. So we do accept our application through the coalition as well as the common application. As you can see, our early decision deadline is right around the corner on November 1st, with regular decision on January 3rd. And so for early decision, we are binding with any decision process, with our early decision process. So meaning if you are admitted, hooray, you were part of the Wildcat family. And so you will have to withdraw your applications from other universities. If you're still a little bit unsure, definitely regular decision will allot those opportunities to compare different admittance across universities once you receive your decisions. With that, we do really, if you do know Northwestern is your #1 choice and you really want to be a part of that Wildcat family, we highly encourage you to go through the early decision process. But when you're actually submitting your materials, as admission officers, we take a holistic review process. So we will be looking at all the materials you submitted as a whole. And so not one aspect really highlights or shines brighter than the other. It's really, we really want to emphasize that. But within the materials that you'll be submitting, we ask for 2 written pieces. And so that includes your personal statement, as well as a supplemental and optional question of why Northwestern. And within both of those statements, it's really your opportunity to highlight your voice. And so, of course, we'll see the other aspects of your application to get an idea of what your academics, extracurriculars are like. So we like to offer up the thought of, okay, what parts of me or what is my story that might not be represented in other parts of my application that I would really love for the admission officers to see, or what other ways do I want my voice to shine throughout this application? And so that's really a great way to think about that. And when it comes to the question of why Northwestern, like we just mentioned, there's so many different pathways a student can take at Northwestern. And so we want to get an idea of what your pathway might be like. What maybe academics are you going to take, or what extracurriculars you might pursue, or what just parts of the campus really stand out and draw you into the school. There's so many different ways of approaching the question. In addition to that, we'll ask for at least 2 letters of support. And so one from an administrator, so your guidance counselor, maybe principal, and another from a teacher. And so again, it is up to you to select who you would like to submit your letters of recommendation from. We encourage it to be someone who can bring in an additional layer of context and speak about you maybe more than just beyond your academics. And we do accept additional letters of support too. And then the same thing, if you do submit maybe it's from a different community member, a boss, or someone along those lines, we ask that they also bring in another level of context that those other 2 letters might not be able to speak towards. We also ask for your high school transcript. And so with that, we emphasize, especially within this past year, schools have reacted to the pandemic in different ways, be it remote learning, be it grading, the ways they grade. And so we emphasize that we are looking at high school transcripts contextually. And so within your own high school. And typically we like to see that you're applying yourself and putting in, taking the more rigorous route and being able to achieve some sort of success through that. And of course, we're not comparing what your grades are like across schools. And again, especially within this application cycle, very important for us to emphasize. In addition to that, we're going to be asking for just your extracurriculars. And so different ways that you've really been applying yourself over the past year or 4 years would be. And so it can be, of course, positions within the community, sports, different activities at school. We also recognize that those may have been impacted this past year. And so really it's helpful to see just the ways you might have been using your time. And the more additional information is always helpful for us to understand really what kind of activities you're engaging in and how you're engaging with them. But lastly, we also ask for standardized test scores. We want to emphasize that this year we are going test optional, meaning it's up to your discretion whether or not you do want to submit scores. Whether scores are included or not, that will not shine a brighter light on your application. We're still reading holistically and in the same way whether or not scores are included. And so we ask if you're proud of the scores, if you've taken your test and maybe you're a little bit unsure, reflect on, do these scores represent my own academic potential? And again, because we know testing has been impacted, both access, both ability over this past year. And so we want to make sure everyone has an equal opportunity when applying. And then when it comes to our financial aid process, we meet 100% demonstrated financial aid for our students. And if you want to get an idea of what that might look like, on our financial aid website, we have a net price calculator, which will give you a rough estimate of what your estimated family contribution would be. And so when you do receive your letter of acceptance, usually shortly after, ideally, we're hoping that our letters of financial aid will go out within the same day for our acceptance. But shortly after, you will receive your letter of financial aid, and it'll include maybe different scholarships you receive, maybe different work study incorporated. We do want to emphasize our packages do not automatically include loans. You may see some sort of eligibility for taking out loans, but when it comes to paying for that that final bill or that final family contribution, it's up to your discretion to how to pay that. We do not offer many merit-based scholarships, but we happily, of course, accept outside scholarships and whatnot. And so, yeah, with that, if you want more information, we really emphasize our financial aid office is a great resource to reach out to, whether it's through email or through phone call as well. And our team, shout out to Mauricio and the communications team, has been doing a lot of work to make sure our material and our typical on-campus programming is accessible. And so we really highly encourage you to check out our YouTube channel, where we've been posting past info sessions, but also very specific different panels and advice on really constructing your college application, as well as our Instagram channel has been very active. With that, we're going to transition over to our question and answer. All right. So one of our first questions, are there strict core classes freshmen need to take during their first couple of years at Northwestern? Do you want to field that one, Anamaria?
Yeah, so that can kind of vary depending on what school you're in. I can kind of speak to Weinberg since that's where a majority of our students are, and a lot of the schools follow a similar thing. So for Weinberg, there's kind of a set, you have to take a writing seminar basically within your first year. It's called your first year seminar. So it's a place where those PA groups I mentioned earlier, you have this class with your PA group where you're all working on writing and speaking and discussing and just kind of spending time getting to know each other and having a consistent face and faces to talk with. A lot of schools have similar things. I know like in McCormick, everyone takes DTC their freshman year, takes that sequence. So there's different schools that kind of have different built-in requirements like that. And then you obviously have your distribution requirements, like I mentioned, but those can be taken literally at any point in your 4 years. So nothing specific about that to your freshman year.
Sure. I know speaking with and hearing from a lot of our current students, there's that nice array of flexibility when it comes to choosing what courses meet those distribution requirements. I know as someone who is not a big fan of math, that those requirements that might be more in the STEM field, I would appreciate and do appreciate that flexibility in choosing where you can really fulfill those requirements. Yeah. Great question. We have another one asking essentially how is campus safety? And so I can just throwing out a few different resources that we have. We of course use a blue light system on our campus, and so with that you can access from any blue light you can see another blue light, and so there's this bright red button you can press if you do feel like there's some sort of danger or you want to connect with our public safety office. We also have a great safe ride system across campus. So after 7 o'clock, whether you're on campus trying to get off campus or maybe off campus trying to get on campus, you can utilize that. It's similar to like an on-call Uber in many ways. Also a great peer initiative called Safe Walk, in which current students will be kind of walking around the campus and offering to help escort other students around. And so really promoting safety in numbers. But what are your thoughts on safety on campus?
Sorry, took me a second there to unmute. Yeah, I think definitely overall, there's just a general feeling of safety on campus. I know, you know, a lot of different schools have kind of just generally different setups in terms of like where they're located and what the kind of feel of the campus is in terms of safety. And I think we're lucky enough to be kind of like in a space where it is just generally pretty safe. So I personally have never felt unsafe, you know, walking from the library late at night or going on runs by myself or different things like that. So I think that's kind of like what I would speak to. And like you mentioned, all of these different resources exist as well if there's ever an issue of safety.
Great. So another question, are there interviews available? And so this year we are going virtual with our alumni interviews. And for the most part, it's really a matter of accessibility and alumni in your area. But you can expect once you submit your application to receive some sort of communications to follow up on availability of interviews. Another question, how has Northwestern handled the coronavirus in campus reopening? That is a good question. And so right now, we're doing a phased approach. And so on campus are our juniors and seniors, as well as grad students and faculty. And it's really hybrid of both in-class and remote learning. And then this winter, it is still projected for our first years and second years to come on campus. Do you want to weigh in a little bit too?
Yeah, I think so I'm a senior, so I have been I'm on campus right now. I'm living off campus, but I'm located in Evanston. So I've been doing online classes, but I'm still living kind of in that campus environment, living with friends from school. So I think people have been kind of trying to very much maintain a semblance of community and keeping things, you know, trying to keep things connected and making people feel like they're together. So I think both the students and faculty more largely have been really making an effort to do that. And I definitely have felt like we've at least been doing that pretty successfully.
Thank you. All right, we had a question about some of your favorite or notable professors. Anyone that comes to mind?
Oh, that is a great question. I have a lot of professors that I absolutely love. I mentioned in my earlier tonight, I mentioned Daniel Immervar, his Global History 2 class, which sounds like a really boring title, is one of the best classes I've ever taken. Me and my roommate both decided to be history majors during that class. We turned to each other at the same time and we're like, we have to study this. It was in the same class that we literally like gave him a standing ovation. It was ridiculous. And then I've had professors that I've really loved that have been really good. 101, I'm in a creative writing class this quarter with Professor Nami Moon, and she's incredible. And she spends so many hours just on the phone with me talking about my writing specifically, and she has way more important things to be doing with her time. So yeah, the faculty here, like really, really wonderful people and very nice and very willing to take their time to like meet with you and talk with you and engage with you. And they're all brilliant and wonderful. And I have really not had bad experiences with them. They're really great.
Oh, That's so beautiful. Thank you for that. So another question was related to submission of any test scores. And so if you are submitting scores, it was along the lines of, can I submit my scores after the application deadline has passed? And so whether it's early decision or regular decision, if you have opted in and selected yes, that I will submit my test scores, and the decision is passed, you cannot change that decision. And you will have up to, for an early decision, December 4th to submit those scores, and for regular decision, February 19th to submit those scores. However, if we're still up in the air and unsure, and so you initially selected, no, I don't want to submit my test scores, even though if the application deadline has passed, you can email UG admission and opt to submit your scores as long as it's before those deadlines I just put out there. So hopefully that helps answer that. Can you elaborate on the teaching style of classes? Is it more hands-on, research-based, lecture-based, etc.?
That's a great question. I think there's certainly a mix, and that's actually one of the things I think that I have, after more time here, that wasn't something I was paying as much attention to, and something I've really come to love is kind of how much you can really shape your schedule and the classes you take around like the style of learning that you like. So I would say definitely within distribution requirements and things like that, you can absolutely kind of pick and choose. And even within majors, there's enough kind of like options for courses and variability that a lot of times you can kind of do that. So there are some lecture style classes, more often than not, your classes are going to be under 20 people. I think it's something like 80%, something like that. So a lot of seminar-based classes, a lot of project-based classes. So it's really about like, what do you like? How do you like learning? Do you like the format of like going to a lecture and taking an exam and doing it that way? Or do you like going to a class where you never have an exam and you're in a small group of people writing papers, or you're in a larger group and you're doing group projects, or like there's all different types of ways that you can learn here. And I would say pretty much every quarter I've been here, I've had like a pretty solid mix of those styles of classes. I think like this quarter I'm in creative writing class where we're doing workshop seminars. I'm in a data presenting class where we're doing group-based project stuff. I'm in a cognitive modeling class where it's like lecture size. I'm in a thesis seminar where it's really, so there's definitely the variability of it for sure.
I like to throw out one of my favorite courses I've heard. It's called Maple Syrup and Climate Change, in which, of course, you're learning about how maple syrup production has been impacted by climate change, but then you get to go hands-on and harvest maple syrup from the trees on our campus. And so I think that's like a really cool opportunity. And there's some that will actually maybe partner with different museums or whatnot and have those field trip opportunities into the city too, which is cool. Great. So another question. Let me see. How does Northwestern help freshmen feel welcome? Or first years and transfer students?
Yeah, that's another great question. I think there is definitely a big focus from the second that you step on campus to kind of make sure you feel welcome and like you have a community here and like you can make friends and do all the stuff you want to do. I think obviously like a big thing we talk about a lot is Wildcat Welcome, which is that first kind of like 8 days, I think, that you're on campus, you're doing this orientation program where you're hanging out with people, you're spending time, with this kind of group that you're assigned to, that you can really kind of get to know each other and all of that kind of stuff. But I think for me, what I even love to talk about more is we have these pre-orientation programs too that you're able to do. So for me personally, I did a pre-orientation program. I met all of my best friends here at Northwestern on my first day of my pre-orientation program. So you have that space and that time before classes start. And then additionally with the pre-orientation program to really make sure people, you have someone to sit next to when it actually comes to that first day of classes. So there's definitely a lot of time and care taken with making sure you feel connected.
I would even add being able to build those connections across different years too. And so like these courses you're taking, of course you have your first year seminars, but there's also different courses where you might have your juniors, seniors in it, and really being able to build community with them. And also, I think through our different extracurriculars, different clubs, great way to meet like-minded individuals, people that have similar interests, and build community. Which actually brings me to my next question. Are clubs selective at Northwestern? Uh, I think it really varies, but you want to?
Yeah, I think it does vary a lot. I think there's some clubs that, absolutely, it's just more relaxed. It's a place for just like hanging out, building community, whether that be, like you want to all go and explore the outdoors together as a part of the outdoor club, or it's a club that's more based in identity or something where people just want to have a space to connect and hang out with each other. And then there are clubs where, you do have to go through more of like this application interview type of process. But with those clubs, I would not say that it's necessarily something that's really designed to be exclusive in any way. I think the idea behind it is that it provides students the opportunity to really show their interest, to really show that, they want to apply themselves in this way to this thing. And I think once you're in the club too, people are really focused on making sure that those new people feel really included, feel really connected with the older people in the clubs. And they're like we mentioned, like there's so many student organizations, like you're never going to be like, oh, I really wanted this one of 600. Like, so if it is something like that, it's just to prevent you from involving yourself in 20 different clubs. So I think overall people really care about like making sure clubs are spaces where people feel very, very much included and connected with the older students. And yeah.
Sure. Okay, another good question. What are your most memorable experiences and your favorite traditions as of now? That's a good one.
I think I like this question a lot. I mentioned Dillo Day already, but I'll mention it again because I love Dillo. It's the largest student-run music festival in the country. It's my favorite day of the school year. You spend all day with friends listening to great music. And I like that you coupled the memorable moment thing in there because I remember my first Dillo freshman year. The band headlining was Young the Giant, and it was like the last concert of the night. It started pouring rain, and Young the Giant just like played the whole set, and we were all out there just getting like literally sopping wet, and no one cared. Everyone was just having the best time ever. And I think that was like a moment for me where I was like, wow, I feel really connected here. I feel really at home here. I feel really happy to like be here surrounded by like all my peers on the Lakeville. It's hard to imagine now, but all packed in together, listening to great music. And so, yeah, that's definitely a moment that comes to mind.
That's nice. I'm still getting acquainted to the Northwestern community. I think for me, especially now, I'm going to take the cheesy answer and just say walking around campus, I'm easily entertained by looking at trees. It's just seeing the trees and fall leaves changing color was always wild, especially now this campus community is a little bit quieter. So that's my entertaining experience. So how early can students get internships? And so definitely first years will be taking on internships or pursuing different opportunities during the summer quarter. But maybe do you want to share about a little bit about your experience finding internships or other friends who might have taken on early internships early on?
Yeah, I think definitely internships is something that people are constantly interning, whether that be in the summer months or across the board in the school year as well. People do it as part of curriculum, as part of different programming. I've had friends that have interned in all different types of cool places all across the world, truly. So there's definitely a lot of options for doing so. And there's also a lot of options for support in it. So I've been able to get SIGP before, which I talked about, which is this grant that allows you to do unpaid work. There's also support through the Career Advancement Center. The alumni are super helpful. Reaching out to alumni is a great thing to do and really, really is helpful. And people are really nice and want to talk to you. So yeah, definitely interning is a really huge part of the experience here and definitely something that people find a lot of value in.
Thank you. So I think these two questions kind of go together. Would you say there's a scholarly environment? How would you describe the typical Northwestern student? And also, how would the panelists describe the competitiveness between students once they have been admitted to Northwestern? In other words, individually or community. Other words, do you see students as more individually or community driven? To throw in my High School Musical reference, we're all in this together. But
That is, yes, that is exactly what it is. And like, you set me up. Yeah, I mean, I think, okay, first part of the question, definitely it's a scholarly atmosphere for sure. I think people are here because they love to learn and they love to engage with their courses, and they, you know, like, they're here for a reason. And so I think definitely, like, everyone is very much as invested in school as you are, and also very respectful of the fact that you want to be doing school in the way that you want to be doing it and whatever. And I think along with that, people really, I've touched on this, but the atmosphere is not competitive at all. And I say that completely 100% genuinely. I'm not just saying that to say it because it sounds nicer. I have never had an experience where I felt like someone's trying to, like, beat me out or do better on a test or on a project or in a thing with me. I think people really want to help each other. I've had a lot of instances where I've had friends, peers, classmates who will just help me with, you know, tests or with projects or learning material that, like, they're gonna have to take a test on it too, and it's on a curve and whatever, and, like, theoretically it's not helpful to them for them to be helping me, but they're just nice and they care. And same to be said for outside of the classroom as well. Everyone has a lot of things that they're involved in that they care about, and I think I have seen the student body come together in at a lot of different points in time to really care for each other and to really support each other in whatever it is that we're doing or that we care about. So it's a really wonderful environment.
yes, that's the same thing I've heard from so many different students. Definitely very engaged as well. I always like to use that metaphor of a duck on water, how they're nice gliding across the water, but their feet are paddling very quickly uh, under the water, working hard, but still unafraid of to support each other and really be there when they need it. Okay, another question. What is the political atmosphere like at Northwestern? Uh, Good question. And I would say, just put it out there. Our student body does take a more liberal leaning approach, but of course, all different identities are represented within our community, and there's so many different really pockets of, depending on what students are interested, that you can really tap in and be around that community you want to be around. And especially being in an academic setting, so many different conversations are happening across the board, in classroom, outside of classroom, on some topics that may be more not, may or may not be more contentious. And so those conversations do happen. But do you want to speak towards that, or what your experience has kind of been like?
Yeah, I think definitely. I would agree with everything you just said. I think students here really care, and that extends to politics as well. I think, you know, I live in a house with people where we've been phone banking and writing letters for the past few months leading up to the election. I think it's something we really care about because we care about our world and the country we live in and the lives of other people in this country. And so I think that that is something that is consistent with um, kind of the way that Northwestern students conduct themselves. I think Northwestern students are not afraid to speak up or speak out when they see something that they don't like, that they think is wrong, that they think is not supportive of their peers, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's something that I'm really proud of as a student here as well, is that the student body generally is very willing to speak out and to support each other. Politically in the world, in the country, and also politically on campus as well. And so I think that that's a really amazing aspect of the community here.
Really, yeah, definitely highlighting that across the board. It's not just administrators, but definitely students who are pushing and engaging with different advocacy work and to make sure it's really about bettering the community and bettering the living, learning environment that we're all in. And you can also see that really extending at times into the greater Chicago community and be engaging with activism or other groups within across Chicago. Great, thank you for sharing that. So question on how does the dual degree program work at Northwestern? Great question. So if you are, well, you are applying right now. And so when you are applying, you do have this option of selecting dual degree. And when you receive your actual application decision, it'll say whether or not you're admitted into both schools or just one school. And when you're actually wanting to, when you have to complete those degrees, some students are able to complete it in 4 years, 5 years is more typical. And it really, the bigger standout is making sure you're completing those distribution requirements between both schools that you're applied and accepted into. And then within that, of course, you're gonna have whatever major or double major, minor or whatnot that you're taking on in addition to that. And just making sure you're completing those requirements in addition. That's the gist of it. Do you have any friends that have done dual degree?
Yeah, I know a number of people who have, and I think have had pretty positive experiences with doing dual degree. I think it's definitely something that's doable. It's something you have to plan out more and be a little more strategic about your scheduling and things like that relative to most double majors. But it's definitely something people have had a good time doing.
Okay, thank you. And so we're just about to close our info session. So really appreciate you all being here, sharing virtual space, your time and your energy with us. I think just to close out, I'm going to leave with our final question of why Northwestern? What drew you here?
Yeah, that is a great question. I think for me, I've touched on this a lot, but I think definitely the community, the experience of people who really care, who are really excited, who really are engaged in a way that I have been and am to this day. And I think having a community of peers who, shares in that excitement, reflects that joy for learning and for being engaged is really wonderful. I think too, I really wanted something different. I was from California. I wanted to go somewhere different, meet new people. And I think Northwestern was like a space where I could engage with people from all over the country, all over the world, with all different ideas and beliefs. And I think I definitely have been able to have that. And yeah, I think those feelings have continued throughout my 4 years here. I think I'm more proud today than I ever was to say that I'm a part of this community and I'm a part of, a community of students who really care and who are really excited and passionate and conscientious and giving. And so, yeah, that's kind of why I chose to be here and why I'm still here today.
Yay, thank you for sharing. I think for me, I also had to choose to be here within this position. And I think I resonate so much with what you just said. Really that community and knowing that that I would be entering into a space where not only students, but also my fellow staff, other faculty are really in there to support one another and try to uplift each other throughout that process. And that's something that really just drew me in here. But again, thank you for joining us today. It's a pleasure. If you have any questions or whatnot, we encourage you to reach out to our UG admissions page. And otherwise, have a great night, y'all. Or evening, or wherever you may be, and good luck with your application.